I think as an artist, obviously, if we were getting amount of plays from Tidal as we are from Spotify, we'd be in a much better position that we may even be able to live just off the streams that we have. The amount that we get from Spotify isn't enough to live off. Right. You know, it's more like it's more consider it kind of like a little bonus every now and then. You have no idea how much it's going to be.
Yeah.
You know?
You're listening to the Label Machine series, a podcast to inspire and help indie record labels and artists to build income streams for their music. I'm Nick Sadler, a music entrepreneur that has helped start and run multiple indie record labels. In this series, I'll be speaking with music industry leaders about their experience and the lessons they learn on how they both market and grow their music income.
Welcome to the Label Machine series, where we discuss with successful industry professionals how artists and labels market and sell their music. My name is Nick Sadler, and today's guest is Chris Garvey. Chris is one half of the award-winning drum and bass duo The Prototypes, and is also the founder of Icon Mastering. Along with his partner Nick White, they also run Get Hype Records, an artist-led record label, and until the recent COVID changes, also ran their own live label event nights. Chris and I also have worked together when I used to manage The Prototypes years ago. So, Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. So let's start off at the beginning. How did you get started in the music industry?
I mean, I've been writing music for years and years and years, really. Started off with band kind of music with guitars and drums and stuff, and then moved into electronic production when my teacher introduced me to Reason, actually. And my brother used to play around on a little Korg Electribe thing. And yeah, all kind of the interest from it all kind of sparked from there. When my mate took me to my first drum and bass night, that was it, so to speak. And from there, I just kind of caught the bug, and I've been making electronic music for about 10 years, actually. Then me and Nick have been bumping into each other for years on and off through different nights and just the drum and bass scene in general. Mm-hmm. And we started doing pirate radio up in London, and we kind of just got close over that, I guess. And yeah, and then a few years later after that, we decided to start making some music together. And yeah, from there we just kind of hustled hard, you know, giving people CDs, hitting people up on AOL, and going waiting outside clubs and giving it to DJs all the time. And thankfully, it all kind of worked out very well.
Nice.
Yeah.
So proper artist hustling from the start.
It was a lot of pushing. It was a long road, I have to say. Getting noticed was the hardest bit. At first, obviously. And then once you've been noticed, it was about trying to keep it going. And I think we got big success really quickly, you know, especially on radio with Zane Lowe, Groove Rider passing it to radio, Zane Lowe and all that kind of stuff. And
which track was that?
So this was Cascade,
yeah,
which got released on J Magic's Infrared. And yeah, I mean, we'd had a couple of singles prior to that. There were already tunes that were written, so it all come out in quite quick succession. And after that long of trying to like make it, to then all of a sudden being like bang, and you got Zane Lowe saying, "Oh, watch out for these guys next year," and all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I think that we were just sitting there then trying to write big tunes rather than just sitting there and doing what we always loved doing. And I think it put a weird pressure on us that yeah, it was just weird, you know, a weird pressure where we'd never encountered before. And you know, in hindsight, it was just, you shouldn't have focused on it at all, just keep on writing music. But yeah, you know, you live and learn, and that's one of the things that we've learned over the years, to just write what you love doing, you know.
Yeah, it all starts with the music. Yeah. Now, since then, you had more music success. You had your first album come out, and then you started your own record label, Get Hype Records. So, you know, you've seen it from both sides as an artist and as a label owner. I think a good place to kind of take this would be to talk about kind of the experiences around a release. And you've got your second album release coming out soon. Is that right?
23rd of this month. Yeah, October.
23rd of this month of October. So it's your second album. Is this coming out on your own record label or another person's record label? Like, what's the distribution setup for the second one?
It's actually all got a bit complicated because of the distribution setup. So for this album, we decided that we needed some collateral behind us. We needed some kind of advance, and the best way we wanted to move forward, we still wanted to be independent. The record label Get Hype is actually kind of entangled in contracts, shall we say, with a distributor, and if we wanted to distribute it on Get Hype, our own album, then it would mean losing another 20% of royalties. So we decided not to go with it this time. So the label is literally just the prototypes for this one.
Gotcha. So it's sort of you're releasing it. You're releasing on your own label, but not Get Hype Records. So you're still sort of in control of it from a label point of view.
Yeah.
Which is different to the first album, which you released on Viper Recordings. So that was going on someone else's record label.
Yeah.
So I guess now, knowing what it's like going through on someone else's record label and then putting it, on your own label in inverted commas. What's been the biggest challenge of putting the album out on your own label?
What's great about the deal that we did is that while we have signed to a distributor, Cartel, they actually operate like an independent record label.
Gotcha.
So they actually have everything in-house, from a team manager to artists to radio pluggers to they've basically got everything covered that an independent artist would need, and they love independent artists basically, and they love supporting independent artists. So that's the setup they have. So they are essentially a distributor, but with all the record label needs, so that you can kind of cut out that middleman if you want to have more control over your release. So we have the final say in where we want to go and things we want to do, but there's the team at Cartel in order to do stuff basically.
Gotcha. So would you say it's a sort of similar to when you released your first album on a record label, in that you had a team around you and you're both kind of working together for the same goal? Like it's not hugely different because of the way Cartel is set up.
I guess it's not hugely different, except for we've got a whole heap more knowledge behind us now in terms of what we want to do. Whereas I think when we were with Viper Recordings, who looked after us really well, I have to say, we were way more kind of dependent on them for decisions, and in terms of listening to them in terms of what we should do, and and yeah, I think with it being signed to an actual record label, they have a sound. They will always have not their own agenda, because using that word just sounds wrong, but like they'll always have their way of doing things that they want to do. And I think that me and Nick just eventually kind of got a little bit fed up with all of that, and that's, I'm not just talking about Viper there, I'm just talking about generally our experiences with record labels. And that's fine, because it's their record label, they can do what they want to do with it, and just like we'll do what we want to do with Get Hype. So that's why we went independent, just so we could make our own decisions really on things.
So in a way, it's when you're sort of starting out and you're at the beginning of the career, it's got a lot of benefits to be signed to an external record label while I guess you're learning and figuring out the industry. But then once you understand it all, that's when it's a good idea to go independent, set up your own label, and you've got full control of things as well.
Yeah, it is a lot more work doing it all yourself. I think it's a lot more stress as well, because it's all on you. And I think if we wanted to take things easy again, we'd probably just say, right, let's just do this with an actual record label. And there just wouldn't be as much stress in the release. But it's not stress. It's all exciting stuff, and it's great to be able to go where you want to do and do what you want to do. But it is all on you, you know.
Would you say you've got to be a bit more, I guess, business minded or entrepreneurial if you're going to be doing it yourself?
I think it really helps to be interested in business, and it certainly helps to be interested in social media and stats and all those kind of lines, which, you know, I'm actually not interested in any of that sort of stuff. I love all the creative stuff. I don't mind doing the websites, you know, looking after bits and bobs that are creative. But in terms of looking after social media accounts and doing all of that side of the business is not really something that's for me. So yeah. But, you know, I mean, we together, both me and Nick take up the slack. So
yeah. So I guess we can't, it's difficult nowadays to have a conversation in music without discussing COVID, because it's just affected everything, you know, all lives outside the music industry, but particularly so, you know, with the music industry and for artists that play live. And that's a big part of what you guys do. You're internationally touring DJs. So we're all aware a lot of live shows have been cancelled. We're not going to go into that, but what I do want to go into is I do know you guys have started doing some live stream stuff. How have you found doing the live streams? And do you think it's purely marketing, or do you think there's something that you could eventually monetize in some way or sell tickets?
It's an interesting topic, and it's one that we have spoken about in terms of, like, you know, trying to get money from it, because we, both myself and Nick, still want to have a career after this. We worked really, really hard in order to get an album ready for this year, and then for it to just do nothing, basically. In terms of, like, both myself and Nick love playing out. We love playing our music out. We love being able to see the reaction from the crowd and be there and feel it, you know. That for us is what's disappointing, because I don't think that we'll be able to recreate what we should have had this year in another year, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So for the listeners, it's just like a classic thing when an artist brings out an album, you're on basically album and tour cycles. So what would typically happen this year, correct me if I'm wrong, the album comes out, you get loads of bookings, you tour the album around the world, you'll do your Australia show, US show, etc., do loads of shows and play all the music. And what you're sort of saying is that now is because of COVID being taken away. And so you're like sort of like, and this is what I'm asking with the live streams, is there a way you can address it with that, do you think?
Yeah. So what we decided to do was, in peak lockdown, we did our 24-hour NHS stream, where we raised money for NHS charities together, and raised £12,500, plus another couple of thousand in gift aid.
Nice.
Which was really satisfying, and I'm not sure if it's something I want to do quite again yet. but
was you guys the first drum and bass DJs to play for 24 hours in a?
Yeah. We were the first to do that, which is pretty cool.
Feather in the hat
as well, which is pretty cool. So yeah, and it was really weird because both me and Nick, we couldn't actually do a proper back-to-back because of COVID and all that kind of stuff. So we did 2 hours, and we were doing the antibacterial wipes, you know, sort of mid-swap. And we had, basically for interaction, we had a computer screen there in front of us with the YouTube comments rolling through, so that we could kind of get some kind of interaction going. And it's just weird because the online world isn't like playing in a club. And while you get, you know, millions of nice comments, you also get comments that, you know, are like, don't really spur you on to keep going for 24 hours, you know.
You get the trolls.
You get the trolls. In this particular one, fast car. which was quite fun at first, but after a while, you know, it was like, oh man, come on, let's just move on. But yeah, nonetheless, it was an absolutely amazing experience. But yeah, of course, we didn't earn any money from that, and you know, we haven't earned any money from any DJing since March, when it just came down like an axe. Basically, we're doing another stream on the 10th of October, which is World Mental Health Day. And we're doing that to raise money again for the charity Mind this time, who are doing, who have worked specific mental health courses for people struggling with, you know, losing their jobs, not being able to go to their jobs. It's been a weird time for all of us, I think. And while it would have hit all of us differently, some have really enjoyed having the time off. Some have had furlough pay. Others, you know, you've had the self-employment grants and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't give you back everything that you always fight to have, you know. And work really hard and actually, you know, make yourself unwell for it. I think that's what both myself have realized, both myself and Nick have realized, is that we actually do make ourselves physically unwell by doing what we do, because we work so hard, you know. So in terms of making money from live streams, we've thought about it, and we can't really come to a decision on how we go around asking people for money, because it always just feels like you're asking people for money, you know.
Yeah. Well, I guess then I know that you guys have dipped your toe in the Patreon waters, and you know, I guess that is a way of you know, asking for your fans to say, hey, chip in. I mean, is there a place in which you would do a live set once a month, and if you're a Patreon level, you get to tune into that? You know, like, and I guess, and also how have you found the Patreon experience as well as established artists?
I think what's really great about Patreon is there's been two positive things for me that's come out of Patreon. One is having a Discord group with everyone and the chat in there. It's a super cool chat. It's really nice. People are on a level. It's very different to having a chat online in an open online world. And yeah, it's just great. It's really fulfilling to hear everything that they have to say and their memories of us sometimes. And when they ask questions and you're able to get back to them, and then the conversation just kind of starts, whether that's about production or whatever, you know.
So just so it's clear, so you're the Discord account is a private, like if you're a Patreon member, you get access to it, and then you guys are all chatting on there. So it's like a closed, like, membership kind of like. Okay, right.
It's one of the benefits of joining the Patreon, and it is just a benefit really, because the actual selling points, I guess, are the selling samples every month and presets every month, and video. So we're making a video series called Making a Proto Banger, and basically what it is I didn't even really know what I'm doing, to be honest. I just started and said, right, I'm going to start making a tune all from the sounds only from Patreon that you can get on Patreon. So theoretically, if you were to watch those videos step by step, you'd be able to recreate what I'm recreating, basically what I'm creating.
Awesome. And you show all the plugins you're using and everything.
I'm just recording my screen and going for it and seeing what happens, basically.
Amazing.
And you know what? I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that, because I feel like people always feel like they have something to hide. And in terms of production, you know, and they're maybe what you would call their tips and tricks sometimes. Not everyone, but
that disclosure video, that was what was quite eye-opening about that as well.
It was an eye-opener. Yeah, it was an eye-opener. And I think during this lockdown, I think that's actually been great for production. Generally, I think a lot of people have opened up. And I think I decided a little while ago that it doesn't matter if you have the information and the knowledge to like engineer a track. You still need to have that something else, you know, to make it all bang and work together.
Yeah. Just because you got the right snare doesn't mean you're going to write a massive like.
Basically, yeah. That's.
Whereas
that's
you think that when you're starting out, you sort of think that, don't you? If only I had the right snare, all my tracks would be amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, they'd never let me know. You know, or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, it's been quite cool. There's only one more video in that series, and each video is pretty long. Actually, it's like 2 hours long each video, so it's quite a long watch. But if you're that dedicated, you'll watch it.
Yeah. And have you found the fans and the people on Patreon have really enjoyed those videos? Like, is it something you're going to keep doing, do you think?
So after this next long one where I'll finish the tune, hopefully, I'm just going to go into shorter production videos, specifically focusing on one point. So maybe like one just on compression, one on side chaining, one on how to read a spectrum analyzer, one on mastering, and then, you know, one on arrangements, things like that.
Yeah. So I guess from if you are like a band or a duo or an artist in which you are producing your music yourself, that's a real benefit for creating another income stream, because you can offer that to your fans or you can offer that up. Have you, I mean, I guess your sample packs you're sort of selling them on the Patreon platform as well. Have you looked at doing a prototype sample pack and selling it on one of the sample-based websites or on Splice?
Yeah, so that's the other point that I was talking about at the start, which has been good for me. That Patreon has pushed me to write to make Serum presets every month, and I've been doing Serum presets just because everyone on there has Serum. Every month I'm like, you know, do you want one for a different synth? And they're all like, no, I want Serum. I'm like, okay. But it has really made me go in on depth rather than just touching the surface all the time.
Yeah.
And it's exercised the brain on it all. So, and it's great. I'm just going into my own sample banks now all the time, rather than, you know, flicking through presets all the time and trying to find something, which is really positive for me, actually. But yeah, now, because of the mini kind of drops every month, I've got a pretty good bank in the making to do something with it.
Nice. Are you guys, so I guess with the album, are you guys doing merchandise with this release? And yeah, what are you doing, merchandise packs, and what's that looking like for you guys at the moment?
So we've actually only just ticked this off the other day, and we have gone with t-shirts and stickers and vinyl for this time. We're doing CDs, of course, as well.
Nice.
And
it's interesting. I mean, I know I'm aware of the actual vinyl because I think I've pre-ordered one already. And t-shirts and sticker packs, they're a great choice. But with CDs, you're releasing CDs. Like, who are buying these CDs? I guess. And
we had this conversation. The conversation was, right, let's get some CDs printed up, and we were all like, is there any point in doing CDs? Is CDs just an absolutely useless medium now? Because I think, I don't know, because the last time we sold CDs was for City of Gold. So we've just decided to go with a relatively small number and see how that goes. If we need to print up more, then we'll print up more. But we're just going on the cautious side for now.
And what did the distributor say, though? I mean, did they have because they obviously, you know, release lots of other people's music. Are they like, yes, you should definitely do CDs, or were they just...
Yeah, they were keen to do CDs.
Okay, so there's obviously still something in there. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, same thing. I have similar conversations, like, you know, who are buying CDs, but there's obviously... I mean, it must be people that have got cars older than 10 years with CD players in them. You know, people who just... Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
I have a theory, actually, that in about 7 years from now, CDs are going to become like what vinyl is today. And people will, like, kids that never grew up with CDs at all will buy like these really nice hi-fi CD systems.
Yeah. There'll be the 5 CD tray that comes out.
Yeah, and people will buy like CD, CD racks. You can display the CDs you've bought down at like thrift stores and stuff. And like, I've got the CD and like all the classics, and people will go around and they'll put in a CD album at a dinner party, and it will be like a cool thing to do.
Yeah,
which I think's great because they're awesome quality. Like, I think that's awesome, and it's a physical thing that you can put on display as a show of who you are as a person, which I think is a big part of why vinyl kind of had that resurgence.
Yeah, I think what I miss about CDs, I do miss CDs. I miss CDs for the booklet, and I miss CDs. Just because you would always be looking at that CD rack and stuff, and there was something to it, not as much to it as a vinyl that you'd be touching and you could see the grooves, and it was really interesting. But there was still something to it, and sometimes you'd get the secret tracks on the end. I think there was one on like the Nirvana album or something, like 10 minutes after the last tune. Things like that, which I thought were pretty cool with CDs. Yeah. And I do miss that.
Yeah. And I think especially with, streaming just becoming the standard, there is that a way of having a deeper connection, I guess, with the between the artist and the fans. So I guess we'll see how that goes.
We will. Yeah.
I hope it does. I hope it comes back. I guess in that case, I'm definitely going to buy one of the album CDs. So when it comes back in popularity, I can be like, well, I've got the prototype second album here on CD. So talking about like other types of income streams as well. You've moved on, and not moved on. You've also gone and started up a mastering company as well. So I guess that's using your professional music services to create another income stream as well as an artist.
Yeah.
It's called Icon Mastering. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Is it iconmastering.com?
That's correct. Yeah.
Nice. So I guess I think most people probably know what mastering is, but you can, if you want to do a little explanation of it. But in particular, you do something called STEM mastering. And do you want to talk me through what that actually means?
Yeah. So like a general master of a stereo file would be, it's generally the client would provide me with a pre-master, which basically has at least -6 dB worth of headroom in there. That means the loudest peak of the tune would be at -6 dB. And what I do from there is I then proceed to make it as loud as I can while still trying to keep the dynamics and make it a competitive mix with whatever else is going on in the scene, basically. I can also get back to people if I think if something's sticking out weirdly that's stopping me from getting it as loud as I can. Often there'll be a few weird frequencies going on, or just poking out, or maybe one sound has something strange going on in it. And I think the thing with it is that, I mean, there's that classic saying, the trusted second opinion, right? When you've been so involved, and I know it's because I mix down our own tunes. When you're so involved with a mix down, it's sometimes very hard to then hear mistakes sometimes. Whereas someone else who knows what they're doing might listen to that straight away and say, there's a problem with that, or that shouldn't be going on, or your snare's too loud, or something like that.
Like a shortcut. You know, you could probably get there yourself eventually listening to it over and over and over and over again, but that second opinion is going to go straight in.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. And I just think it's worthwhile, you know. STEM mastering is where I'll listen to your tune basically, and I'll decide how I can make it a lot better, mix down wise, if I can ask for separate parts, basically basic separate parts. So it's basically like a mini mix down. So I'll ask for like your kick, snare, hi-hats, cymbals, more than likely, and then I'll ask for basses, pads, synths, all separated, so that I can go in there and fiddle about basically and make it better. Is the
Gotcha.
key thing there. And then obviously that'll be mastered at the end as well.
Gotcha. So it's stem mixing and mastering rather than stem mastering. That's probably a better way of putting it.
Yeah, it's basically like a mini mix down, and then with mastering on the back end of it. I mean, the cool thing about all this is that because the cool thing for me anyway, and one of the reasons why I started Icon, besides COVID, is because I've been doing this for a long time anyway. I've been doing it on the record label for Get Hype, some of the Get Hype artists. I've been mastering our own tunes for ages. I have admittedly made mistakes on our own stuff, but I feel like I've learned so much from all the knowledge I've had, especially when hearing mix downs on radio, and what needs to be different there with a master or a mix to get it to sound good on radio. In terms of competing with other tunes in a club environment and in a mix, and what's going to step out in a mix while you're in the mix and everything with other tunes. And yeah, I've kind of learned a lot from getting things right and getting things wrong, you know. And I feel like I'm at a point where I can take that further and help other people with their music, you know.
So, you know, speaking about mistakes and what you've learned, what are some common problems that you see over and over again in new artists as a producer?
Whenever I go into other people's mix downs, the one thing I notice, which is really basic one, is just making sure you EQ properly, basically. And that things like, for example, a mid-range noise or a bell or something like that, or a bass top doesn't have sub information going on in it, you know, that 50, 40 hertz, all that kind of stuff. It just needs to go, you know. So but not so you're affecting the actual sound, but you're just getting rid of the information doesn't need to be there. It's almost like a kind of white noise, low rumble that will be there a lot of the time. If you were just to filter out the actual sound, you would hear that there's things going on the bottom end which are taking power away from your actual bass and things that are going on. Sure. So I think mainly it's just it's more of a cleanup thing that I notice most, and then other times it's decisions on level of different instruments, so that things are presented in the right way in terms of impact, the transitions between sections, and knowing the difference between a wide sound and why a mid sound will sound stronger, and using all of this information in order to get a really cool, strong mix across, and using it all to actually, you know, affect the music. So at the end of sections, you've got things that go really wide, and then it all locks back into like something that's really cool and straight and tight, you know. Yeah, things like that really that I notice a lot.
So EQ, cutting off with the sound wouldn't normally have that EQ frequency in here, just cut it out. I mean, the next part you sort of described, I think that just almost comes with experience, though. A lot of that.
I think it does. I think you're right there. I mean, the other thing is obviously where placing your instruments, generally placing your instruments in electronic music, that'll be the thing that's going to be taking the most power up in the mix is your sub. So, and I think another mistake I see, especially with people making dance floor, is they'll tend to try and smash their snare through the mix. And it's something that we did, you know, when we were first coming through with our tunes. The snare would be the loudest thing. If I took the limiter off the mix pass, the snare would be massively loud compared to everything else. And that's because you want that snare to be loud. You want it to come through. But the problem is when you're continually pushing that snare up against the limiter and everything is then kind of coming down underneath it, that's not a controlled mix. That's not how it should be. That when you take that limiter off, it should still be level and balanced, and everything around it you need to deal with inside the mix down, rather than just relying on the mix bus.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Watch the snare. It doesn't have to bang through the middle the whole time. Okay, so I'm going to move on to some of your experience with music trends. So the first question is recently, recently is in the last year or two, where do you find you guys are getting most of your royalties from? Which major platforms are working for you? Spotify, iTunes, Amazon? What's working for you guys, or even direct to fan, off your own website?
Spotify's our number one. It has been for a long, long time. iTunes is going up recently, actually. And Deezer is in there as well, is in the mix somewhere there.
Really?
But, Deezer? They're actually way lower. I mean, way lower compared to Spotify.
But relatively speaking to the other platforms, they're solid.
Yeah. But I mean, I would say it's Spotify, then iTunes, and Beatport is still our number one for downloads. I think that the iTunes store, in terms of downloading music through iTunes, is pretty dead now.
So is it actually called? Is it now just called Apple Music?
That's right. Yeah, Apple Music. Sorry,
I was trying to figure that out this morning. Actually, I was like, "Is there iTunes still, or it's Apple Music?" So Apple Music's their Spotify, isn't it? It's their subscription.
Yeah, Apple Music
starting to pick back up. That's starting to pick back up.
That does seem to be picking up. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
I actually saw that Rekordbox have now done a deal with Tidal, which I thought was quite interesting.
So for the listeners, Rekordbox is a software used for DJs to organize their music before playing in DJ sets, and specifically, it's tied into the Pioneer mixing infrastructure.
Yes.
So is that going to mean you can just find tunes instantly from within Rekordbox?
I believe that they have brought in some kind of streaming aspect to DJing from Tidal, basically, which is, I think it's a pretty cool move, considering how much better you're paid as an artist from Tidal. I've never signed up for Tidal, and
you mean as a consumer?
I think as an artist, obviously, if we were getting amount of plays from Tidal as we are from Spotify, we'd be in a much better position that we may even be able to live just off the streams that we have. The amount that we get from Spotify isn't enough to live off. Right. It's more like consider it kind of like a little bonus every now and then. You have no idea how much it's going to be. Whereas platforms like Tidal, because their rate of pay is a lot better than Spotify and Apple, you would be able to, pay some good money out of that, I think.
Well, I think what else is going to be interesting about that once we go live is a big problem with the electronic music industry is that artists don't get paid performance royalties. So when you play out, typically a band goes and plays in a club or a bar, they'll submit their set, the set goes to the collection agencies, and the bars all have to pay and the venues all have to pay into a big account, and then that gets divvied up and everyone gets their performance income. Now, it's historically they haven't been tracking that for music in clubs, and obviously club music is huge. It's a huge industry, and none of those performance royalties are being collected. But what this does hopefully mean is with something like this, with Tidal, it means, because that's all locked in, you'll be able to start actually collecting your performance income. So if your song is being played by loads of DJs and loads of clubs, regardless of whether people are downloading it or streaming it, you should also get paid out from then as well, which which would be a game changer for the electronic music industry.
It really would do, actually, yeah. And actually, what I saw at the back end of last year, they're bringing in, they've been testing a Shazam type deal for clubs that will get installed, basically. So
Cuvo,
this is it, yeah.
Which
when I saw that, I was like, at last.
Yeah.
But I wish it was there like 5 years ago when all my music was getting smashed to bits.
Yeah, they trialed Cuvo in Australia. They got these Cuvo boxes and they plugged into the back of the mixers. The issue was, because everybody brings their own laptop and Serato and stuff, people would keep unplugging these Cuvo boxes, so it wasn't detecting stuff. But I believe that Pioneer are just going to build Cuvo into their mixers. I think that's the secret. If all club mixers have got Cuvo built in and it's online, that's when it will hopefully work.
PRS have made their own one.
Oh, really?
They've made their own one. Yeah, they've been testing it out.
What, like a little box?
Yeah, that's installed into clubs.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's great to seeing this as well because, yeah, you like you said, if that was all set up properly, you wouldn't have to rely on the Spotify income. You could have really beneficial income from things like Tidal and performance income.
Yeah.
So speaking of our friend Spotify, what have you guys been finding works for you for getting on Spotify playlists, and how do you play that angle with your music?
I mean, I never pitched to the actual playlists or anyone at Spotify, but we have people at Cartel that do pitch, and they have relationships with the people at Spotify. And we generally we got into, with the last single, for example, Quantum, we got into the Spotify Stepping Out playlist, which has been pretty good. The good people at UKF have put us into their drum and bass top 50, which is always probably the strongest playlist we get put in, actually, that one. Most of our plays come from our Release Radar plays, so which is, I don't know how interesting or not that is, but I think it's a good sign. I think that's a good sign.
So Release Radar, though, that's when people are following you on Spotify, and then you get
correct. Yeah. Yeah.
So building up your followers then sounds quite key.
We've had a massive influx in followers over this year. Massive. We've had like almost 25,000 subscribe to us just this year.
Why do you have any idea of why you think that's happened? Did you guys do anything special or promote it, or?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I don't really know. All I know, we did get into massive drum and bass a few times as well. They're big, the Spotify big drum and bass playlist, and we had that hottest record in the world with Annie Mac. So again, that might be another reason why.
But you didn't do any specific like paid advertising to kind of promote your Spotify channel, so your Spotify artist page to get people.
No.
Right. Just fans finding the music and loving it and subscribing to you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's good.
Yeah. I mean, it's the ideal thing, isn't it?
It's the ideal thing, yeah.
We're just getting really popular.
That was useful.
Yeah. Do you, when it comes to the album with paid advertising on Facebook and Instagram, will you guys, how will you approach that side of it? I mean, first of all, are you going to do any paid advertising? If you do, how will you approach that? Are you guys doing that? Cartel's doing that?
Yeah, Cartel's boosting the posts basically, but we're still writing the posts. And some have been dark posts, so we don't want to I don't want to say trash up our page, but we don't want to be putting posts up on our page all the time that look like ads, basically.
Yeah.
But the team do want to push things, and they want to put money behind it, so it reaches the most amount of people that it can. Because as we all know, Facebook, even though we've got like 17,000 people on there, without actually boosting it, if it's an ad, we'd be lucky to get 7 likes. If it's a more personal, Yeah,
Over
yeah,
100,000 likes on your Facebook page, and you'll get less than 10 likes.
yeah, yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
but if we have more personal post, you know, like a personal picture or something that we're doing, like the NHS stream or something like that, then we'd probably get close to 1,000. But it's just one of those weird things where if you put something up that looks businessy, or it has too many words in the video now as well, things like that, then Facebook just clamp down on it instantly, and they'll say, no, this isn't allowed, you're not allowed to boost this, or you're not allowed to do this. Or
Interesting. I do know, though, last week they just changed their rules where on pictures, and I'm not sure if it's affected videos, but you weren't allowed to have more than 20% of the picture with words. They've completely swiped it now.
Oh, okay.
You can have as many words. I mean, they literally changed it last week, and I was reading on some forums, and people are testing it, and they're like, yeah, just uploading ads, you can just have like a block of text over a picture and it will go through. For whatever reason. But I know what you mean. I think it's, if something has some sort of commercial pushing tendency in the video or the picture, people see that straight away. People are so savvy, and they're like, oh yeah, cool, you're pushing your album, you're pushing something, I don't care. Whereas if it's something like, hey, this is something we believe in, or it's something personal, there's a connection that people like.
I mean, I even saw the other day they've changed the icon to the Facebook Pages app. And they've changed it into something that just looks like a business app, you know? And it's just like, this isn't why I do this. This isn't why we have a fan page. We have a fan page because we want to talk to our fans and the people that have liked our page.
Yeah.
We haven't done this so that we can sell them shit. You know, yeah, we might be pushing a single to them, but surely that's why they've hit like in the first place. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just find Facebook a weird one. I find Facebook a weird one for sure.
Yeah. Blogs. Do you think they're still relevant?
I've been talking to a few people recently who don't think that they are relevant at all, actually. And I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I think some are. I
guess a blog is a publication, like Rolling Stone has its own blog, right? I guess getting on Rolling Stone's blog would be
exactly
something.
Yeah. And we've always had really good hit rates off UKF blogs. They're always really well written as well, those ones. And yeah, we've always had good feedback from certain blogs, but there are others which feel like they're big, but don't, basically.
Yeah, when you say don't, you mean if you have a link to go on the article to go and say, a premiere to play a track on SoundCloud or something, it doesn't actually translate into people like viewing it, clicking it and playing it and things like that.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And it's quite interesting with the smart URL, which you set up for us, actually. And I got really into that. It's a really cool thing to be able to see how many people are clicking and how many people are going on further from that as well, and actually going to one of the links or wherever else, to actually listen to it. I think it's a very interesting thing, especially when you're emailing out to your email database on MailChimp or something like that.
Yeah.
Seeing the ratio from how many emails you send to how many emails are opened to then how many people click the smart URL link to then who actually goes, where that filters through, and how many people out of thousands actually click on a Spotify link.
Yeah. So what you're saying is data is pretty important to know what's going on. And I guess once you have that, you see all those percentages down to actually people clicking on Spotify, then would you say, having a massive email database would be hugely beneficial?
I think it's very beneficial. Yeah. I think that you'd probably get more, you'd have people more interested via an email who actually want that email.
Yeah.
Most of them just don't get opened, but I think we have actually quite a good click rate.
I think industry standards like 2 or 3% open rate or something. So anything above that,
yeah.
you're winning.
Yeah, I mean, we're on about 25-30%.
That's
I think it's really good. I think it's really, really good. Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah, that's incredible.
We might get like 1 unsub or 2 unsubs. I think it's the most I've ever seen on when we've sent an email out.
Yeah, that's really strong. What kind of things are you doing? Anything to grow your emailing list? Like how do you kind of grow? Yeah, how do you get more emails? How do you get more fan emails?
We are just about to embark on this, and we've been hitting up all of our contacts basically who can help us with goodies for a pre-album competition. For a pre-album competition basically, and we'll probably have runners up and then a main prize where you get some really cool stuff. So we've been talking to, I think we're going to have head speakers come in and give us something. Isotope are quite on getting involved, and I think that's it for now. Yeah, but and then obviously we'll be having our merchandise and CD signed vinyl, see a signed CD. Yeah, maybe a kiss from Nick, something like that.
So the main way you're at the moment you're saying is you'll get an email address when someone buys something off you, merchandise wise, and then also by running a competition, enter your email address essentially, win something, and then you can. Yeah, that's a way of growing it up.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's one of those things. In order to enter the competition, you have to provide an email, and you have to sometimes you can direct people to your SoundCloud to like your SoundCloud before they get a free download of a tune, or all that kind of stuff, which helps with your likes, because I do find that if people were to, let's take SoundCloud for example, I think if you just send or post a SoundCloud link on Facebook, they're just going to listen to the tune. They're not going to go to your page and like it, even if they like you as an artist. So you kind of need to force their hands somehow a little bit, unless they're really, really keen.
Yeah.
I feel like.
And what platform are you using to do that kind of gating?
I've never done it myself, as I say.
Ask the distributor.
Ask the distributor. But yeah, we've just been kind of trying to get on all these things basically, and make sure that they're happening. And
I mean,
we know what we want to do, but in terms of actually actioning something like that, there are more clever people out there to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like Hyped It and Toned In, and there's all those platforms. Okay, that's great. On social media, what platforms are you guys finding you get the best, let's say, organic response for you guys at the moment?
I would say Instagram, definitely. And we've actually been having quite a good response on Twitter at the moment. Nick runs that completely. And he's been coming with some interesting comments recently that have, had a lot of interaction through truth, really. He's just been speaking truth about a lot of stuff. And, I think people respect that and they like that.
Yeah. Oh, nice. I've actually had a lot of people saying Twitter has sort of been doing surprisingly well for them. But yeah, likewise, if you just be yourself and be honest, it can work really well.
It's something that I've noticed pick up recently. Weirdly, it's more a standard thing to be getting more and more likes, and more retweets. We actually lost our initial Twitter account a few years back due to a password change. We think our account got hacked and the password got changed. Thankfully, there's been no tweets on it or anything like that. But we just couldn't get into it for love nor money. And Twitter back end couldn't help us at all after maybe 5 or 6 tries. So we ended up making a new Twitter account. And thankfully, a lot of the drum and bass scene retweeted our first tweet from there. Basically.
I've had the same thing with the Label Machine. I set it up. It's just got the logo on there and like coming soon. My name. It's clearly me. Same thing. The password changed, or I can't remember what it was. I'm not sure what happened. Yeah. And I've seen everything through. Like, here's an exact. Like, it's clearly me. Here's my name. Here's company. Everything. No, so weird. It's a very. I don't know what is up with Twitter. It's like there's not people at the other end. But anyway, that's another conversation.
It's strange, isn't it? Yeah, it is another conversation.
So finally, the one thing with PR on, and I guess going back to the album, will you guys use any, or do you guys use any external PR? Do you guys do in-house PR? How are you looking to handle that for the upcoming album?
So we have internal PR at Cartel, and for the album we also took on Matt, who owns Alchemy PR, and he has looked after some really epic people in the drum and bass scene. From Andy C to J Magic's new album, and he, from speaking to him, he understands us. He understands how long we've been in drum and bass, and we felt it was really necessary to have someone who understands the raving and electronic music background full-heartedly, and he knew us as well as artists to handle certain aspects of our PR, because Cartel are amazing and we love them, but because they have a very wide base of artists, and we were their first drum and bass artists in particular, and I think we just felt that we needed someone who understood us as artists and where we needed to be, sort of thing.
So if you do go for PR, find somebody that understands your niche of music.
Yes.
If you are going to go with somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. So that's a shout out to Alchemy PR if you are wanting to do any drum and bass PR.
Yeah, Matt's your man.
Matt's your man. Okay, awesome. So I guess the final thing I want to say, or I want to ask you, is we know the album's coming out. That's going to be amazing. This is a bit of a funny question because of COVID, but what's the sort of future for the prototypes and icon mastering over the next year or so? What's the ideal plan for you guys?
I think for the prototypes, it'll be amazing when we start playing shows again. I think, as I said, earlier, it's been hard on everyone, and it's all been hard on us in different ways, and that's highly true for myself and Nick. So we will be still fighting on the other side of it and still loving drum and bass, and we're just looking forward to getting back to shows, basically, with the prototypes, I think, in general. And obviously celebrating 10 years. This is 10 years of the prototypes as well, this in 2020.
Nice. Wow.
So that's what the i360 stream is also in aid of, as well as Mind. We're just playing our own music for 90 minutes and recapping everything from the start to the end, but in no particular order. And we're playing loads of different kind of versions of our tracks, and versions of tracks that never would got released, and versions of our tracks that had a vocal on it, but we decided to never release it, but we still really like the vocal, things like that. So it's kind of a bit of a switch up, and we let a few tunes play, and just kind of recap over the prototypes over 10 years, really. And icon mastering, it's something I've, as I say, been doing for a while. It's not just drum and bass I've been doing, actually. I've also been mixing down for an artist called Howard Kay, who's done tracks with like Sam Carter from The Architects and the lead singer from Def Havana and things like that. I've been mixing their vocals down for them and stuff like that. And yeah, it's been really nice, doing something different to drum and bass. I think just continually focusing on drum and bass all the time and snares is something that I you just need a break from as a producer sometimes. And, Icon gives me the chance to not have the stress of being creative. I can just listen to something and say, this is right, or this is wrong, and this is wrong. Do you want to change this? Do you want to change that? It's obviously always up to the artist. My opinion is but a suggestion. And I try and help them, and it does actually really fulfill me with a good feeling, and I like that feeling. And yeah.
So I just continue to grow the Icon mastering and work with more artists. And
yeah, I think Icon mastering will stay post COVID. It's something that I just like doing. I like doing it. I sit here all day fiddling about with all this stuff,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's time to put it into practice.
Awesome. Chris, thank you so much for your time. That's been super insightful, especially from such a established 10 years this year artists, and being really frank and sharing with what you guys do in the background as well. I know lots of people are going to find that super valuable. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Well, thank you, Nick Sadler. I appreciate everything.
Awesome. Take care.